We were foster parents for about 4.5 to 5 years. We fostered, I'm trying to count, we fostered 4 children. We had a reunification. We had a child that was replaced with relatives. We had a child that was a respite placement. And then we ended up fostering and adopting 3 children. The children are currently 5, 4, and 3 years old. Fostering infants and toddlers can be very challenging in different ways. One of the things is that they really can't tell you the things that they've experienced in their lives before they came to your home, and they really have experienced trauma. A very particular case that we had that was really challenging was actually our oldest child. And he came to us at 18 months old, and there was a lot of difficulty that he had because he was nonverbal. He was very frustrated and very angry and very confused, and he didn't know how to tell us that, and he didn't know how to get what he needed. We think so much in our lives that infants and toddlers are so resilient and they can bounce back, but if all they've known is trauma, there's no other thing that they're bouncing back to. So it can be really difficult. Things that other infants and toddlers find comforting, like close contact or face-to-face interaction, can be really frightening to infants and toddlers who've experienced trauma. And so it can be really challenging figuring out ways to comfort a child other than what you instinctively reach out to do. So one of the ways that we really worked with him was giving him some safe space to express that anger. We made sure that he had, when he was having a very physical reaction, that there was pillows and soft things, that he was not bumping into things or running into things. Again, we did a lot of back wearing with him. It was very comforting to him to have non-confrontational physical connection. And we did a lot of silly physical games with him. We did a lot of jumping. We did a lot of moving, where if he was having a difficult time, instead of removing him from the situation by himself, we usually removed him with us. So if he was having a difficult time in a very loud setting, we would take a walk around the block and have some one-on-one quiet, calm time. Supporting birth-parent relationships with infants and toddlers was so important to us because of the goal of reunification. I think that when empathizing with a birth parent, the hardest case that I had was actually a young baby that we had placed with us, and his mother was having some difficulty with substances and was not attending visits. And that was very difficult for me to understand why she would not want to see her child. But taking a step back and recognizing that there were several reasons why she might not want to attend visits, or that maybe she couldn't attend visits, and recognizing that it was my job not to judge her on her choices and on the things that she had done, but it was my job to help as much as I could with connecting her child to her. So reminding them that their parents were working hard, that there were people helping their parents, and being honest and open with what was developmentally appropriate for them to know. And every night we would open up the book and show a picture of them with their birth parent and saying, "Oh, who's this?" We made sure that we connected with the birth parents before visit by keeping a log and tracking the things that we did and developmental milestones and activities that we did, and passing those things along with pictures along to biological parents. One of the ways that we made sure to connect biological parents to their children is to invite them to medical appointments and any other appointments that were appropriate for them to be to. Sometimes it's not always available for them because of transportation issues or because of other appointments or work. So one of the things that we would do would be to prepare a bag. We would often save first foods for infants for a parent visit. So if it was going to be their first time trying carrots, we would make sure that that would go to visit with parents and tell them, this is the first time they're having carrots. Let us know how it goes so that we know how things can go next time. We made sure that parents were connected with specific activities or specific things that the children were really enjoying. If they were enjoying a particular toy, we would make sure we sent it with them. We usually tried to pick 1 or 2 books that were only for visits. And so they had a book that they knew they were always going to read with their parent. And that made it easier for them to get excited. Remember that book that you really enjoy, where you're going to read it this time with your parent. We would tell them that morning, remember you're going to have a visit this afternoon. And it was part of our daily conversation in the morning when we talked about what the day was going to look like. There's a lot of sadness at the end of visit for everybody involved. You might be feeling rejected by the child because they don't want to go home with you. The parent is feeling sad because they are having to return the child to another home or another person. And the child is feeling sad as well because they're, being removed from their person of comfort and their securely bonded person. We were not quite prepared for what it was going to look like on the back end of a visit. We weren't prepared for how to deal with a child who was, again, feeling the separation. Infants and toddlers, when they come home from visit, can have such a wide variety of behaviors. It can go from just exhaustion, and they come home and they don't even make it home. They fall asleep in their car seats on the way home, and you're literally lifting them up and putting them to bed for the night. It can be on the other end of that spectrum, it can be just full of energy and full of excitement, and you have to reroute that behavior into something else. It can be sadness. There's a lot of sadness that happens and a lot of feelings of loss. Again, if they've experienced trauma, they can be reliving that trauma when they come home, and they can have very physical reactions to that. There could be biting, there could be hitting, there could be kicking. And really kind of trying to focus and hone in on what's going on and giving them a chance to express those feelings in the way that they feel, but in a safe way. So if they're having a biting session, give them something to bite. We have all kinds of things that they can bite. They can bite a washcloth, they can bite food. Sometimes they're hungry, so you want to make sure that they get extra food. If they're kicking, take them outside and let them kick a soccer ball around. We tried to have a lot of comfort items for ourselves as well. We made sure that we didn't have a lot of big plans going on the next day. I wanted to make sure that we had some downtime to process because we knew bedtime was going to be difficult. If we were having particularly difficult times, several times, we reached out to our team. We reached out to our foster care support group. We reached out to our foster care worker, and we really kind of tried to figure out what was going on and see if we could kind of help quell the difficulties and figure out what was going on and why things were getting more difficult. One of the things we did that was so important and so vital to us was as soon as we noticed we were having difficulty, we reached out to our foster care worker, we reached out to our team, and we received help from an infant mental health specialist. Working with an infant mental health specialist was one of the best things that we did. They came into our home once a week, working with us and our caregiver that we were utilizing in the home. Once a week, they would come in for an hour, observe for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then work with us on developing new goals and new ways to deal with behaviors that had come up or behaviors that had actually been resolved, and now we were working on something new. The other thing that we did was we involved our infant mental health specialist with the Early Head Start and the Head Start program. We actually brought in our therapist and brought her into the Head Start and Early Head Start program and had her do observation and support the teachers in their daily curriculum and ways to help our children if they were experiencing difficulties. I think it's extremely beneficial for infant mental health to work with the biological families as well as with the foster families because it allows them to see both where the child is and know what's working in different situations. Babies and toddlers can pick up on your emotions whether you're actually saying the words or not. So it's important that when we're saying the words that we make sure that our face is matching what the words we're saying are. So if you're saying it's important for you to go to visit and we're really happy and you're crying, the message is very confusing. So it's important to remember that as we are parenting children that our own experiences and our own lives as children are going to resurface. So if we had difficulty with something, or if we had a difficult part in our lives, that's going to be revisited when we're trying to help these children, especially since they've experienced some difficult things. I think that the biggest stereotype or myth that I've heard about birth parents is that they don't love their children or that they don't care. And I have never met a birth parent who didn't love their child. They might have difficulty expressing that. They may have their own personal issues that they're dealing with. But I have never met a birth parent who didn't love their child. I think most people think that children in foster care have done something wrong or that they're born addicted to drugs. Often they're hungry or they don't have stability in their home for some reason, and that they just really need safety and security to help them to reestablish that bond with their parents and reunify.